Welcome. I'm Stacey Pothier, the owner of Simply Nutrition and host of the Lessons in Nutrition podcast, where science meets simplicity. Science continues to unravel the intricate connection between what we consume and how it affects our bodies. Some of these insights will be shared today on Lessons in Nutrition. Our goal is to empower you, the listener, to make informed choices. And today we have one of the most brilliant minds with us, Dr. Anureet Kaur.
Thank you, Stacey, for having me here.
Thank you for being here. And Dr. Kaur is a nutritional biochemist, an associate professor, principal investigator, and scientist in the Department of Nutritional and Food Sciences at Cal State LA. She has published several full-length papers, book chapters in scientific journals. She edited 3 books, which were recently published. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And she was acknowledged for more than 40 publications under the age of 40 and serves on the educational boards for 3 international journals. Dr. Kaur also works in research collaboration with the Institute of Cardiovascular Sciences in Winnipeg, Canada, and she is in research collaboration with the City of Hope in Duarte, California, studying oxidative stress and cancer. Dr. Kaur, thank you. That's an impressive resume.
Thank you so
It's an
much.
honor to have you here. All right, so what is the topic for today?
Okay.
Alcohol.
Yes, alcohol. Yeah, I think it's a topic of interest for so many listeners out there, because for centuries alcohol has been used for recreational purposes, medicinal purposes. And I think it's time for everyone to know about and make informed decision about the consumption of alcohol for themselves.
That's great. Yes, we know the Super Bowl is just around the corner, but let's see what science has to say about alcohol. So, Dr. Kaur, from a nutrition point of view, what is alcohol?
Yeah, so alcohol from a nutrition's point of view it's neither a carbohydrate nor a fat, but the empirical structure of alcohol is very closely related to carbohydrate, and its metabolism is very closely related to fatty acid oxidation. So it's very important we discuss it from the nutrition's point of view. So its structure, as I mentioned, it has 2 carbons. It is CH2, and OH. And the thing is, it is both fat and water soluble. That is why it makes its easy access to different cells and tissues and organs of the body. So the moment it is consumed, it can easily cruise through different cells, and it does not even require any specific receptors to go inside. It can just cruise in.
Oh, right.
And it can go into your brain. Usually our brain is protected by a blood-brain barrier, which is kind of a protective layer, which makes sure what goes in and what not. But alcohol can even cross that. So that is why, we should know that what it does to our body and how it is metabolized. Basically, it gives us 1 gram of alcohol when metabolized gives us about 7 kilocalories of energy, just like a carbohydrate and protein. But the calories are empty calories, meaning it has no nutritional importance attached to it. But it is adding calories to our body, so we should know. Higher consumption can even lead to fat accumulation, and which we'll be talking about in today's podcast also. But yeah, so it is metabolized as fatty acid. And then how it impacts different cells, we'll talk about this in the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is considered a toxic blood ethanol?
So it's about 50 to, you mean the levels, right?
The level, I'm
The 50 to 80 milligrams per deciliter is considered toxic. But again, there are different parameters, different units used to access it. What levels makes you intoxicated? What levels makes you feel that tipsy, inebriated, and different levels. But yes, usually, so there is, because we don't store alcohol, and then the amount of alcohol which is considered toxic in the blood is about 50 to 80 milligrams.
Okay. And what do you know what that was in ounces? The figure
You mean the drink? Yeah, so they're different again for the drink also. There are different measurements, and different countries have their own measurements. Usually a 1 drink is 1 glass of beer in US, which is about 12 ounces. And then one shot of whiskey or a liquor. And then, of course, it is one glass of red wine, which is about 6 ounces. And usually that serves about 10 grams of alcohol in US. So again, the sizes, how they are poured is different in different
Right,
countries. In
right.
Japan, one serving, which I just said, mentioned all those sizes, is equivalent to about 8 grams of alcohol. But in Russia, that same servings, which you just mentioned, one glass of wine, one shot, and one glass of beer is
Okay.
equivalent to about 24 grams of alcohol.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so it's
Really
different for each.
depends.
Yeah, it really
Oh,
depends.
that's interesting.
Yeah,
how
and
they
then
make
again,
it.
there are different factors how quickly it can enter your blood
Right.
and how quickly it can come to the toxic levels, because there are several factors. How if you have food in the
Food,
stomach,
water, yeah.
or are you drinking? You had because usually in the empty stomach, alcohol can quickly get absorbed and enter into your blood and bloodstream. Into bloodstream and to brain within minutes, 10 minutes and even lesser. And again, it depends upon your metabolism and other factors.
Okay.
And usually, when you have all the 3 macronutrients in your body, like carbohydrate, proteins, and fats, it's alcohol. Is the research has shown it is absorbed much slower,
Okay.
versus when you have just one single macronutrient, like carbohydrate alone, or protein alone, or fats alone.
So have a big meal if you're going
Big
to
meal,
absorb
yes. And usually, what people think is that, okay, they drank few drinks, empty stomach, and they want to eat it later, thinking that
Right.
it will not make them that tipsy, but that's not.
Doesn't
It's
do-
done.
doesn't work
It's
that
done.
way.
Yes, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, that brings me my next question is how it's metabolized, and you touched on that, but
Yeah. So metabolism of alcohol, again, it is metabolized, as I mentioned, just like fatty acid oxidation. But again, there are 3 different pathways for its metabolism. So the major pathway is alcohol dehydrogenase. That's an enzyme which is present in humans, and which is how it is metabolized. So the first step is the alcohol is broken down into acetaldehyde. That's the first step. And then acetaldehyde is broken down into acetate. Okay, so there are 3 pathways. The ADH pathway, which I just mentioned, alcohol dehydrogenase, that's the major pathway, and that happens in the liver.
Okay.
Then there's second pathway known as MEOS, which is microsomal ethanol oxidizing system. That is usually is also used to metabolize different drugs in the body, but that is mostly active in the brain, okay, because brain does not have ADH. And then the third is catalase system, which is less than 2% of alcohol is oxidized or metabolized because of that, again in the brain also. But the first one, the major one, I would like to explain my audience about ADH. And ADH is actually what makes us all different in how we metabolize alcohol as well. Because some people have more ADH, some people have different genetic isoforms of ADH, this enzyme. Females tend to have less ADH as compared to men. That is why, female gets tipsy quicker as compared to men. That's another, genetic difference. But yes, in terms of what we were talking about, the breakdown products of alcohol. So the first step when alcohol is broken down, it uses NAD. Now, NAD is a very important coenzyme produced by all cells of the body, and it's very, very important coenzyme for so many important reactions in the body. So when NAD is used to break down alcohol, we are low on NAD and we have buildup of NADH. So this ratio, NAD to NADH, is disrupted too. We'll talk about it later. But the first, very most crucial thing which we should all know is the breakdown of alcohol will lead to acetaldehyde. Alcohol is a poison. Acetaldehyde is even worse poison. So our body is exposed to acetaldehyde for longer duration. And again, then acetaldehyde is converted into acetate. So this conversion process needs to be quick, acetaldehyde to acetate, so that, acetate is not poisonous. Our body can use acetate as a fuel to get ATPs and calories. But in some people, again, this conversion process could be slow. Yes, it could be longer. And then for how long acetaldehyde is present really depends. It can damage your cells, specifically cells of the brain, because it is alcohol is a central nervous system depressant. That's why it creates that feeling of euphoria and, decreased anxiety. So it depresses those cells. And there is research has shown that, well-documented research, that it definitely impacts your neural cells. And, we have neural cells, nerve cells, glial cells. So neurons, it impacts them. Okay. So longer the acetaldehyde is present, longer it's going to impact our cells. And then, so that's what it is. So, and then acetaldehyde is, we'll talk about the complications of acetaldehyde later also.
Okay, okay. You talked about this off the cuff, but the anxiety, how alcohol decreases anxiety, and I know that's why some people go to why they use alcohol in a sense. But do you know what part of the brain I mean, I know there's a lot of different ways to decrease anxiety other
Yeah.
than that choice, but I do know I know that is a reason. Even I didn't drink for years, and I had a brain injury, and then I had some anxiety, and all of a sudden I wanted to like have that glass of wine or the beer to calm the anxiety. So I know that we didn't really talk about that, but I'm just curious, what are some options to kind of bring that anxiety level down?
Yeah, so there are different parts of the brain which get impacted with alcohol. So again, alcohol can go to any part of the brain, different regions of the brain. So we have a prefrontal cortex, which produces specific neurotransmitters called GABA. Now, when after a few drinks, 1 or 2 drinks, that GABA shuts down, and then so GABA is again a neuromodulator which helps control your calmness, controls your speech, controls your reaction to several things, your the level of your speech, your voice. So that's why a few minutes into the party, everybody is calm, and after a few drinks, you can see that there are loud noises,
Yes.
just because that GABA is shutting down, and kind of you lose that control over that.
Okay.
So then after one or more drinks, then your memory kinds of goes to that lane. That part of the brain which controls your memory is kind of impacted. So sometimes some people will experience blackouts
Yes.
even with few drinks, and some people will not. And again, that has genetic factor associated with it. But coming to your part, after that, so there are two. So it throws people into 2 bins.
Okay.
One is, people after a few drinks, they get sedated, like they feel like sleeping and they are not very attentive. And some people, even after a few drinks, they get more
Energized.
active, energized. And
Right.
again, there's genetic component attached to that. But again, so it could be because of how their genes are, and if they're alcoholics or not. There are several factors attached to it.
Okay.
And then also, when they drink when they have few drinks, there's one hypothalamus pituitary adrenal
Hypothalamus,
axis, which is attached to it, which kinds of works with your hormones. So when you drink, even the person who is a chronic drinker, meaning who is a habitual drinker, it does not mean that he's drinking too much every day. He could be drinking just 1 or 2 drinks every day, and then on weekends he's also drinking, or maybe he's not a weekday drinker but just a weekend drinker, but a regular drinker.
Right.
So that actually causes your adrenal gland to release a hormone known as cortisol, which is kind of a stress hormone. So what happens is when a person is a chronic drinker or drinks regularly, that hormone, even when you are not drinking, that your threshold release of that hormone is increased. So basically, even when you're in the state of non-drinking, that hormone is always produced, and it is produced at a higher amount than it usually would.
Okay.
So cortisol
Even with
is
casual
even
drinking.
even when you're not drinking.
Right.
So that
even
kind
not, okay.
that kind of makes you feel drink. So that's why people who are habitual, after certain time, they'll be like their mind just thinks of because they're under light stress always because of higher amount of cortisol now.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah,
like
it's a
snowball.
very this effect of alcohol is seldom discussed, but this is because usually we discuss about the right away effects of alcohol, but these effects when you're not drinking but you are a chronic drinker, when like in the morning when you're not drinking, or stuff like times of the day when you're not drinking, the cortisol is always
Cortisol's
produced,
higher. Okay.
and then that will always trigger in the back of your head that you have to drink, you have to drink, you have to drink, and then kind of that shifts to alcoholism as well.
Right.
So there are so many aspects of alcoholism, but
Okay. So
usually-
getting that cortisol level down would be kind of the objective to bring that craving down.
Yes, craving down. Yeah, so
Okay.
that brings to again for craving. Also, there are several. There are several neuroimages which has been done, MRI, and which has shown that several parts of the brain, and several studies have shown that several parts of the brain are the ones which are responsible for craving.
Light up, right?
Yeah. And then there are three things linked to the craving. First, you have a binge drinking, and then you have a withdrawal. You don't drink because you have the side effects, and then when you are exposed again to alcohol, it's again relapse into that. So which leads to craving. But again, it can be stopped. It really depends. You can be abstinent without alcohol for a few months. In some people, it can be stopped. You can, but again, it's very easy to get into relapse.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, there are a lot of studies undergoing. We still don't have any specific answer that if craving can be permanently controlled.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure it's a long duration when you
Long
still have that
process.
craving, even if you, you're without alcohol, you still have that long window where you are still craving for it.
I have a naturopath doctor I've seen for years, but he talked about it, and he said with any addiction, after 6 months you're at one phase and you feel like you're okay, but that it stays on the cellular level for up to, I think he said it was like a year. I don't know.
Or more, yes.
Yeah. And so people think they're okay, and then that's when they'll relapse because they think they're good.
They're good, but yes, this because of it impacts different areas of the brain, the frontal, medial frontal, and that is a longer window. So that stage you have to be very careful. If you are exposed to alcohol, there are chances that whatever
right
you
back.
get, you go right back. Exactly.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Good stuff. And let's see. What was I going to ask you? Let's see. Scientifically speaking, what is alcoholism?
Okay, yeah. So alcoholism, again, there is no one definition for that, but typically we have three major criteria for alcoholism.
Okay.
The first is uncontrolled craving. The second is, you are habitual drinker.
Okay.
And the third is, despite knowing the adverse consequences of drinking, you're still drinking. So that is typically 3 points of alcoholism. But again, as I mentioned, there is a lot of science behind it, and there are different angles from which researchers are trying to study this. But there are gene variants which can show that if you will be alcoholic, and then what age you start drinking is also a very, very important factor.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So they say that there's a very good research paper which has been published which says that if you had your first sip at around 13 or 14 years of age or 15 years of age, the more likely you'll be alcoholic. Or if you have your first drink after the legal age, which is about 21 in most of the states, and then there are less likely chances of being an alcoholic. But again, there is a genetic predisposition to it. Sometimes it runs in your family that you may be more prone to becoming an alcoholic versus not.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there is another thing which is described in terms of alcohol is alcohol use disorder, which is again a broad spectrum, which is also known as AUD, which encompasses from binge drinking to being an alcoholic. So it is a big window. Some people are under that range as well. But again, it does not matter if you're alcoholic or you have alcohol use disorder. We know that there are serious metabolic consequences. It can impact. So we'll be talking about fatty liver and stuff, how it leads to that, how it leads to cancer. A lot of research has shown how alcoholics are more prone to having cancer because it causes changes in the DNA methylation. And there has been research which has shown that one drink per day can increases your chance of having breast cancer to about 13%, which is a lot, 4 to 13%. One drink per day, and then one drink I just mentioned. Again, for each country, it's a different how much amount of alcohol is poured.
In the process. Yeah.
Yes.
So genetically, you were talking about if you have alcohol younger, your chances are higher. Is it because the gene that's there express itself? Like, is it epigenetic
changes?
And
exactly. Yeah, so it causes epigenetic changes, and then which kinds of programs your DNA in a way for a long-term behavioral modification. And
so it kind of wakes up that gene.
Wakes up that gene.
But later, the earlier, the more.
More, yes.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, there are several aspects. This is one of it. Yes.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Let's see, what else? You did talk about AUD. Can you elaborate on AUD?
Yeah, so that's alcohol use disorder. Again, that's a broad spectrum, as I mentioned. It can range from anywhere from being a binge drinker to being an alcoholic. So, again, alcohol use disorder ultimately leads to alcoholism. But again, the side effects are the same. It could be some people experience blackouts, some people memory fog. Again, as I mentioned, it throws people into two bins. Depending upon everybody is different, how much and how genetically you are different, how much ADH you have and stuff like that. And then liver is the first place which kind of metabolizes alcohol, and then how much ADH you have in the liver is what will decide how much serious consequences one can have.
Interesting. Okay. So ADH is a big factor.
Yes,
in the whole
it's
thing.
an enzyme.
And that's an enzyme.
Yeah.
Okay. Was I going to ask you? What was that? I lost it. Anyway. When someone does have alcohol use disorder,
Mm.
and maybe they're like, "Am I an alcoholic? Am I not an alcoholic?" It's when things are destructive, and when something's destructive and they're still doing it. Is that where they just say an everyday person? And they're like, "Oh, am I using alcohol? Do I have a disorder using alcohol, or am I an alcoholic?" Would the defining factor be that it's causing destruction in their life and they're continuing to drink?
Exactly.
Okay.
So it kinds of they're all linked. Alcoholism, AUD, and craving,
Okay.
and they're all linked with each other. So
Okay.
even if they're not drinking, I mean, of course, alcohol use disorder it does not mean that they have to drink regularly. Some
Right.
people drink just on weekends. Some people drinks about 12 to 24 drinks a week. Some people just prefer one drink every day.
Holiday,
Yeah.
yeah.
So again, I'm here not to demonize alcohol. Again, it's everybody's personal choice, but I really want our listeners to make an informed decision and
Yes.
informed choice based on what are the side effects. But yes, so they're
Okay.
all linked with each other.
Now, how you mentioned the cortisol, that it's not that it increases, it's that the threshold.
Threshold, yeah.
Yeah.
So even if you're not drinking, the threshold is always high in
Okay.
that people.
Does that ever repair itself? Does that ever come back to balance?
Yeah, so it is doable. Again, it depends what stage of alcoholism you are and how stronger you can control your cravings. Because what happens is when alcohol, as I mentioned, it impacts the nerve cells and neurons of the brain, it actually leads to impact the synapses of the brain permanently sometimes. So it's called a neuroplasticity. So synapses can be altered permanently, but it can be reversed also, again, depending upon 6 months abstinence can bring your neurons back to the same synapses. But it's not always true in everyone. Again, genetic predisposition and how strong you can
much
control
damage.
that, how much
Okay.
damage has already occurred, if the neurons have changed, if the DNA methylation epigenetic changes have happened. So there's several factors to it.
Okay.
But yes, if controlled earlier on, it can be
Now,
reversed.
once you wake up a gene, can it become suppressed again?
Yes, again,
Okay.
it's because mutation can happen in any gene.
area,
It can be
right.
it can be suppressed.
Okay.
And nowadays we have research. We have several gene silencing technology out there which can silence a specific
I
gene
love
as well.
that. Yeah, that's
I mean, of
amazing.
course, it's not that common, but
Okay.
it can be done.
Okay.
And then, of course, epigenetically also, if a good gene was suppressed, why not a bad gene can be suppressed too?
Right.
Yeah, but
And
again,
what-
chances are very rare. It's not that you can just wait. You cannot just keep on waiting for that gene to get suppressed. Right?
Right, exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
And can they target? Because I know you do a lot of cancer research.
You can target. Yes,
Okay,
you can target
okay.
that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean the research is still ongoing, but you can target a specific gene.
Okay, I love that. That's great. And what are the biochemical and metabolic alterations associated with it?
Yeah, so that's again a very, very important questions. I want my listener to understand again and make an informed decision about them, about using alcohol. So there are severe metabolic alterations and biochemical alterations with alcohol. As I mentioned, that alcohol, when broken down and is converted into acetaldehyde, and acetaldehyde is even more worse poison. So buildup of acetaldehyde, what it does is, it's acetaldehyde has a tendency to go and bind with different proteins in the body and kind of form an adduct. So let's say it binds with a enzyme which is supposed to do some important function in the body, but because of acetaldehyde binding, that enzyme loses its
Can't do what it
functionality.
needs to.
It cannot
Okay.
do. So that is a major setback. That is why alcohol has the power to destroy any and every cell of the body, because if it forms and goes and adduct with any protein, it can impact the functioning of that protein. Majorly, acetaldehyde has impact on the liver cells, and so that can lead to fibrosis, which is a scar tissue formation in the liver, and eventually that fibrosis can develop into cirrhosis, which is the final stage of liver damage. One night of heavy drinking can just destroy your liver.
Tell me that again, because that's so powerful.
Yes. So one night of heavy drinking can destroy our liver. We cannot just take it light. So just because, and again, if a person has underlying condition, let's say hepatitis, it is gone.
Wipe it
It
out.
is just right there, because hepatitis again is prone to having cirrhosis, and again you're on top of that we are adding alcohol. It's a double-edged sword. So that's bad. So that's one thing. Acetaldehyde toxicity is bad. It's a poison. Our cells cannot handle it. And how quickly your body can convert into acetate is a good thing. But in some people, that conversion process is very slow. And acetaldehyde can linger on in the body and can keep on damaging cells. So that's one thing. And then second is there is NADH buildup. Okay, so NAD is consumed and NADH is built up, which is also bad.
Okay.
So, and that can lead to fatty liver. And how that is, so that's why, some people, when they tend to gain more fat. Why? Because wherever alcohol is metabolized, it is using NAD. And so which means NAD is going down, NADH is being built up. And NAD is used in the pathways which helps to break down fats. So that slows down because TCA cycle slows down because of less NAD. But because of buildup of NADH, now the shift is from oxidation to reduction. So instead of oxidation, now it's reduction, so which means it leads to fatty acid synthesis.
Okay.
Instead of fatty acid breakdown, it is building up fats.
Yeah.
So wherever alcohol is metabolized, it could be your liver, it can lead to fatty liver, it can, if it is metabolized in the heart, it can lead to fatty myocardium, it can lead to fatty renal tubules in the kidney because of this disrupted NAD to NADH ratio. More NADH will favor fatty acid synthesis because of leading, again, there's a big science about it. So when acetyl coenzyme, there's build-up, but because it cannot enter the TCA cycle, it actually leads to the formation of malonyl coenzyme A, which is a starting point of the fatty acid synthesis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's that's why people have a lot of fatty liver problems associated with that.
Yeah. Okay. I remember that cycle.
Yes. I talk to my students all the time. This in the class. They should be aware about what is alcohol doing to us.
Yeah. It's good. It's good to hear.
Yes.
It's very prevalent and culturally, very accepted.
Of course, it has been used for centuries for recreational purposes, medicinal purposes, and and alcohol is indiscriminate. It can enter any cell and every cell.
Yeah,
it does not.
That's wild.
That's why we should.
It's not just the liver.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting.
Of course, the ADH, the maximum ADH is present in the liver, so that's the first area where it is metabolized. But we do have some ADH in the stomach. We do have some ADH and here and there which can metabolize it. But in brain, it's meiosin and catalase, which works more.
Okay. Meiosin and catalase. Okay. And let's see. Why people with higher consumption? Oh, you kind of told us that, why they gain fat.
Yeah.
So we got that. And which vitamin is of consideration?
Yeah, so people who are alcoholic or drink more alcohol, now one very important thing is, there is an enzyme called as retinol dehydrogenase, which has a very structural similarity with ADH, this alcohol dehydrogenase. Now, what happens is when you have alcohol in your system, this alcohol dehydrogenase is actually replaced by retinol dehydrogenase is actually replaced by alcohol dehydrogenase. So what that means is now retinol is converted into retinol, which actually helps us to see in the bright light, and it's a kind of helps us to see. But when ADH is present, ADH covers our retinol dehydrogenase. It's not able to convert retinol into retinol. Okay. So our intake of vitamin A should be increased in that case. So vitamin A is that's why people who are alcoholic, they of course they also suffer from night blindness, and they cannot see in dark. So basically, retinol helps us to see gives us that pigments to see. So vitamin A is important. Then of course thiamine. Vitamin B deficiency is very much prevalent in alcoholics because of several factors. But the one very important factor is because alcohol is diuretic. It makes you urinate more and you tend to lose all your B vitamins. Mm-hmm. And thiamine specifically, loss of thiamine has been linked with Wernicke Korsakoff syndrome. So it's a very common syndrome and disorder, which happens in alcoholics. And first it is Wernicke encephalopathy, which starts with that, which means you have ataxia, you have improper muscle control, you are not able to speak properly. There's a loss of speech, loss of eye movements, loss of hand movements, your gait, everything is affected because there's muscle coordination is impacted. That is first stage of Wernicke encephalopathy. Now that Wernicke encephalopathy is because of lack of vitamin B. Thiamine, specifically thiamine, and that is mostly prevalent in alcoholics. It has been clearly, there is a lot of research studies which has shown that alcoholics have Wernicke encephalopathy, which can progress into Korsakoff syndrome. So again, if it is, you found out in the early stages, it can be reversed. But if not, if it enters the Korsakoff syndrome, Wernicke, it's too late. It can cause permanent brain damage, memory loss, dementia, and stuff like that. So, and that's linked to vitamin B. So the best stage, if you detect it early, Wernicke encephalopathy, the best treatment regimen is always recommended is the person should be taking 100 milligrams of thiamine
daily, right?
or daily, orally, and then 10 milligrams of, or maybe an injection form of a shot intramuscularly. But again, a day, if not more, at least for a month. And once the levels are back, then you can stop it. And of course, you have to take care of your alcohol, and you have to take care of your alcohol intake. You cannot take that as well. So I mean, it's very very commonly seen in alcoholics. So vitamin A is of concern, vitamin B is of concern, folate, vitamin B12. They have been all linked with people with alcoholism. They are, they have to be worried about those vitamins.
I've heard that B really can help with addiction. I don't know what the science is behind that, but just that B vitamins in general.
Yeah.
I've heard that before.
Yeah.
I mean, just in someone recovering.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. And let's see. Can those cravings, we kind of touched on this, but can alcohol cravings be controlled, or is there a way, to get those under control?
Yeah. So there's a lot of research again undergoing on this area. Cravings, as I mentioned, the three cycles, right? Binge drinking, withdrawal, and then of course you are the relapse into that. But again, that period is very longer. So you have to, so for the person who's trying to control the craving has to be on the watch for longer duration because that window is too big. But science is still, the research is still going on. We still don't have very conclusive answers that if it can be permanently controlled, but it's a long window. There are cases where people, of course, they are abstinent for longer durations and they are able to control their cravings. But there are certain regions of the brain which are impacted, which impact your craving as well. So, hopefully we'll have a definitive answer to that. But research is still going on. It's hard. It's hard though.
Yeah, once an alcohol, I'm real familiar with it. Just I've done a lot with 12-step programs and stuff.
And then the best way to do I would say, is decrease the amount first. If you are alcoholic, let's say you are drinking a lot, heavy drinker, but then you can come down to a little bit, and then eventually you can of course you can completely take it out from your life. It can be done. It's doable. It may be a little harder. Cravings may be a little harder, but you can do it.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
hope.
Yes,
there's hope.
There's hope always. Yes.
And what is considered as alcoholic tolerance and dependence?
So
I think
again,
you kind of answered that.
Yeah, but tolerances, so the different kinds of tolerances, physiological tolerance, the biochemical tolerance, metabolic tolerance. But I'll just, so tolerance can be again because of several reasons, So tolerance, if you have to just define tolerances, it's that now your body needs more to get that
same high,
same levels of same feeling of inebriated euphoria. You need more because now that level of alcohol is not doing any good. So you basically are tolerant to that level. Could be because of several reasons. Now because your body is used to, now your body is producing more ADH. So usually ADH can only take up certain amount of alcohol, and after that it spills over to other systems which I was talking about, meiosis and catalase. But people who are tolerant, they tend to produce more ADH, so now they can metabolize more alcohol, so they need more to get to that level of inebriation and lightheadedness, drunkenness, and then there are other reasons to it is, which is metabolic tolerance, where what happens is when you drink more, your body kinds of try to produce more of the enzymes of the meiosis system. Remember the second
Yes.
system?
Okay.
Your body produces more of the. Usually, our body does not produce enzymes of that system at high amount, but when you drink more, those enzymes are always present. So
Okay.
now you're metabolic tolerant. So now you can have to consume more alcohol to get to that level of highness,
damage.
more damage. So more damage. It's producing more acetaldehyde. But the problem with this metabolic tolerance is it's not just that you have to consume more alcohol to get that feeling, because that system, remember I told you, also metabolizes drugs,
Right.
several medicines, and then it means you now have to increase the level of those medicines also, because then you are metabolically tolerant to that drug as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
okay.
that's why in a lot of
crosses over.
medications there's a warning that don't mix it with alcohol,
Right.
because when you have alcohol in your system, the sad part is your body will prioritize alcohol over anything. It will be metabolized first. Just because it is both fat and water
goes
soluble,
straight
it can
into
go
the
straight
cell.
into different cells,
Right.
and your body starts work on it. So yeah, it can lead to metabolic tolerance. So you have to. So now you have to take
So now
more.
you're not absorbing whatever it is you need
Yes,
to get.
and there are several hormones also, hormonal side attached to it also, because when you drink alcohol, your body produces dopamine, which kinds of makes you relaxed and enjoying.
Right.
But now your body needs more alcohol to produce same level of
Or
dopamine. Yes.
Like any drug.
Like
right?
any drug.
Yeah.
So it's again, it's your stage of that metabolic tolerance. You now need more to get to that level.
Right. And then the natural process of having dopamine and being happy is hindered.
Is hindered.
Yeah,
Exactly.
okay.
Exactly.
So, and that so duration and capacity affect that over time.
Yes, over
Okay.
time, yes. And then again, and it's acetaldehyde, your cells are being exposed to acetaldehyde for longer durations. It's causing more harm, more toxicities, because it's a toxin for sure. Alcohol is a poison, acetaldehyde is even worse poison.
Okay.
So, yes.
Good to share. Good to share.
And again, I'm not trying to
It's just the
I'm feeling
science.
guilty about talking that. I know some people enjoy their drinks, which is, again, moderation here and there. I'm not saying it's absolutely bad. You can enjoy that here and there, but again, it's
Still has the same
Still has
effects.
the same effects. Yes.
Okay. So what is a hangover, and what's the best way to recover from one?
Yeah, this is also some, when I'm teaching this course in the class, students are always interested to know about that as well.
Yeah, I bet.
So hangover again is feeling of uneasiness or malaise after you are when the alcohol is out of your system, because it also has so many other compounds with it, nitrites and all, which kinds of leads to headache, stomach ache, and every person experience different sort of things. But there are different, things which are said, drink this, eat that to get a hangover.
Right.
So usually hangover is because you are dehydrated a lot, which kinds of causes other things to concentrate in your body to cause you that headache and stuff like that. And also alcohol is a vasoconstrictor. It constricts your vessels. But might take it a vasodilator. It dilates them,
opens them up,
but
right?
it opens them up. But when alcohol is out of your system, it constricts them, which kinds of also leads to headache. And some people say that drink more so that they dilate more again, and so that you are out of your hangover. But no, never do that again. Because then it'll come back with a major setback later on.
Okay.
So don't do that. So best way is to, of course, try to have little food before you drink in the stomach, again, to slow down the absorption. That's one thing. And the type of the drink also matters a lot. If you're mixing several drinks, that impacts also. And some drinks tend to give you more hangover than other drinks. Some people say that if you have sugar in your drinks, that give you more hangover, but which is not true. There's no scientific background to it, because beer gives you the very less hangover, and it's typically high in sugar, versus and then ethanol mixed with orange juice gives you the least least hangover. And if that's the sugar part is true, it should be giving you the maximum. It's giving you less. And then and brandy is in the top of the list. It gives you
sugar.
I'm not sugar. It gives you the hangover. It gives you the maximum hangover. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are different drinks gives you different kind of things. But the best way is so usually what happens is, of course, your alcohol is kind of it will kill bacteria also. It's a bactericidal. So it is killing your
the
gut microbiome of the
yeah.
body, and that is another reason which gives you that feeling and of malaise and headache and
Okay.
stuff like that. So you should be consuming some probiotics. That's the best thing, or maybe some low fermented carbohydrate foods, and then not the alcohol. I know alcohol is fermented too, but
Right.
other low fermented like probiotic, sauerkraut, or
Okay.
natto. Again, depending upon if you like kefir. There's so many products out there, but make sure even you're taking yogurt, it is good, has good active bacteria in them. So that's the best way to deal with it slowly. And then some people try to take, excuse me, the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs
Okay.
to get rid of the, the headache. But again, we should not be doing that.
Could you do a fish oil, flax oil combination so you're getting the alpha-linoleic, I know that's anti-inflammatory in that combination.
Yes. That's that's important because most of the times it's inflammation, but that's for hangover. Usually, inflammation does not play that major role.
Okay.
But some people take non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs for headache, but because of their side effects in the liver, and your liver has already gone through a lot because of alcohol.
Damage, right.
Because alcohol, I told you,
Trauma.
it's ADH is in the liver.
Okay.
On the top of that, you're giving those anti-inflammatory drugs, which can impact.
steroid.
Yeah, so try to avoid that. So best strategies have to have food before you drink, and then, or to lower down the effects of hangover, try to have a lot of water before you drink, and then some electrolytes in them, or maybe having because salt, sodium,
Everything gets
potassium, and
thrown out.
magnesium, that is impacted too because it's a diuretic. So, or maybe you can, of the night of drinking, before going to bed, you can have water with electrolytes in it. Excuse me. I'm just
Okay. That'll help. You're doing all the work here. So I think we've got that. So electrolytes, and make sure that someone eats if they choose to.
Yes.
drink. Okay.
And then the another things about is that, cold shower, because that kinds of induces
It's
your
a
stress. Yes,
fun.
adrenaline from your adrenal glands,
Okay.
which kind of clears out
Clears
the alcohol in the
everything.
system in the body.
Oh, so there's some
but
truth to
again,
that.
yeah, it should be. There is a truth, but again, you should be. Again, what level of cold water you should be in for how many minutes? 1 to 3 minutes is usually enough, because some people try to jump in pool and stuff like that. You should not do that, because again, you already have a brain fog, and again, it depends how it has impacted your brain, and everybody is different. That can be dangerous.
careful.
Person can
Okay.
drown also. We should never do these kind of things, severe things. But of course, taking cold shower until this part and
Right.
stuff like that.
Do it wisely.
Do it wisely.
And
It can
short.
impact.
Okay.
But probiotics and water with electrolytes. Make sure you hydrate yourself before you drink, and of course before going to bed, you can have water with some electrolytes. That
And
impact.
all 3 macros with the meal before, right?
All 3 macros for the
Okay.
meal.
So you've got your fats,
that's
your
slow.
protein, your
and
carbs.
That
Okay.
slows down your absorption.
That's interesting. Okay,
Yes.
that's great. Are there any positive effects of alcohol?
Yeah, so going again, I'm sorry to say, I wouldn't recommend drinking alcohol. So a 0 ounce of alcohol has the most positive effects versus low to moderate, and then from moderate to high amounts.
Okay.
But again, of course, people say that, okay, red wine is great, you can drink that.
Okay.
It does not matter what form
Okay.
alcohol you are drinking. It's an alcohol.
It's an alcohol, right.
It's doing the same thing,
Breaks
no matter
down the
what
same.
form. And I've heard people saying that, okay, if you can drink champagne, even pregnant women can drink champagne, because champagne is not that bad as compared to other forms of alcohol. No,
Not
that
true.
is completely not true. Please,
No
please,
alcohol in
no alcohol at
pregnancy.
all. Pregnancy.
Yes.
And because it's gonna broken down
Brain
into
barrier, right?
yeah, it's
Blood-brain
gonna broken
barrier.
down into acetaldehyde, into acid, and acetaldehyde is a poison. It's damaging
Okay.
your cells. So coming back to the positive effects, yes, red wine has been in a lot of news, and research has been done about the resveratrol. But the amount of red wine you have to consume to get that much amount of resveratrol,
right? And
is
you can
act-
have grape juice.
Yes,
or
yes. It
acai berries
actually
or-
overrides the positive effects of resveratrol versus how much have to you
okay.
consume. And then you can have
Yeah,
grape
I hear
juice and
that a
stuff
lot.
like yes.
That's
And then
healthy.
of course there's few studies which have published that there is some receptor which is produced in the adipose tissue, which kinds of when you drink alcohol, it is activated, which kinds of lowers down the fat synthesis.
metabolism.
Fat
Okay.
synthesis.
Okay.
Which is that, but again, it's very controversial. We don't
Okay.
know that it's not everybody can have that. We cannot just keep on drinking alcohol to arouse that receptor because we don't even know if
it's true.
If it's, I mean,
Okay.
if it's, we do have data which says that,
Okay.
but again, it's not very substantial yet.
Okay, because I know Mediterranean diet can be one of the best, most beneficial diets, of all kind of thing. But
Yeah.
but it's hard to attribute it just to the red wine.
Yes,
you've got
yes,
the
we
fish
cannot
and
do
you've got all
that,
this other
yes.
good stuff.
Yeah. So it's always good to have 0 ounce of alcohol
Okay.
and then versus low to moderate. It's fine. If you're occasional drinker somewhere here and there, it's fine.
Okay.
There are studies which have shown it helps to improve your heart health. But again, as we know that the breakdown of alcohol will lead to fatty myocardium also. So I don't know.
Okay.
Occasional here and there is fine, but again,
Okay.
chronic alcoholism is definitely not good.
And the idea that it relaxes is actually not true in the long run, although someone may experience a feeling of relaxation.
But again, remember, it
But the
produces
cortisol,
cortisol. The
right.
threshold of the cortisol
So it's
is
actually
increased.
doing the opposite.
It's
in the
actually
long
doing the
run.
opposite. You may feel relaxed at
In
that
that
moment, but again, it's the threshold
And
of your
you brought that
cortisol, even if you're
cortisol
not
up.
drinking, is high. And then that makes you feel that you have to drink. You have to drink
Anxiety.
soon. You have to drink soon.
Yeah. Okay. And then I work with a lot of women in that menopausal age, so that's not going to do them any good because you've got that. They're already kind of dealing with some cortisol issues, so having
Yes,
that brought
hormones.
down.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And then also there is, as we are talking about hormones, estrogen to testosterone. So they say that people who drink more, the research has shown that people who drink more alcohol, so testosterone is a very important hormone.
Right.
It's present in both male and female, but of course males have more. And then it is a very important hormone for cognition. For libido and other important things. So usually when a person drinks more alcohol, testosterone gets converted into estrogen, and even in males, when testosterone gets converted into estrogen, it makes them more prone in having breast tissue development or gynecomastia. So and there are other and chances of breast cancer increases as well because of these hormonal disruption. More testosterone is converted into estrogen, and so basically the ratio is disrupted, estrogen
right.
to testosterone, which leads to more cancer. So that's why alcohol has been linked with cancer development. As I mentioned, one drink, which is about 10 grams in US, increases your drink a day, increases your risk of breast cancer by 4 to 13%, which is a huge number.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then it's not uncommon for people to have one drink a day. It's
Right.
not uncommon. And by this I means they may not be drinking for whole weekdays, but on weekends, starting from Friday, Saturday, they may have 7 drinks. It's the same thing.
Same thing.
Same
Okay.
thing. Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. Okay.
Yeah, so you have
yeah,
to
I
be
know
careful.
that all the dietary guidelines. I know they brought the levels down. I think it was 2 years ago because it used to be 2 drinks for women. I think now
it's less.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And I'm so glad there's a lot of awareness out there. People are more concerned. I've seen so many people in my friend circle just being abstinent. That's amazing. And this is how we should make well-informed decisions. This is we should be aware what it is doing to our body. And the products which are being produced because of the breakdown of alcohol are absolutely devastating.
Right. Okay. What as far as saying, I think we talked a little bit about anxiety, but what helps someone not? I mean, I know magnesium can bring a calm and valerian root, and there's different things. What's the best way to bring that anxiety? Say someone wants to not drink at all, but they have that anxiety factor and it helps them calm them down, or they had a crazy day at work and they just want to have a drink. Or I used to work in the industry, as the real estate world, it was escrow, but anyway, there was a lot of drinking. I think it had to do with the stress level of the industry. It may have been other things, very social, but I always think what gives someone that same sense of calm that they could work their way out of it?
Yeah, Stacey, that's a very good question. And I think everybody needs to find their own thing which will bring their stress down. Some people like to get involved in different kind of activities which they think, which will bring their stress down. Somebody like to sing, cook.
Sing.
It really depends. What is your stress buster? And everybody
Okay.
has that. You just need to focus. I know it's hard. Somebody who's habitual drinker who has, for that person, it's just the drink which will bring their stress down. And they have been thinking about this whole day at work. Okay, I have to get home and just drink. So I know it's hard, but it's the support and love of your family members, which you can work out. You can find out what is the activity which can bring your stress down. For some people, like for me, I'm a tea lover. I love to have tea. I look forward to. I know it's kind of a drug too. It might be impacting my brain too, but it's not that bad for sure. So so you have to find your ways.
Find a refill, right?
Find a refill, exactly. And there are things which can actually help you with that.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's good.
And of course, it works with your hormones, and eventually, over a period of time, when you're abstinent, when you are refraining yourself from alcohol, over a period of
right?
it heals, and your body will stop producing those hormones which will make you happy when you're drinking. Your body will start producing those hormones even when you're not drinking. So you will get that effect. It'll be over time.
Okay.
Exactly.
It's the first part that's hard.
It's the first part.
I know a lot of people do what they call it, dry January. A lot of people don't drink in
dry
January.
Oh yeah, that's very common.
And it's probably a great way. You could probably continue on. You know what I mean?
Yes,
if it's like a nice kickstart.
Nice kickstart, exactly.
Just don't go back.
Yeah. But again, I just want to mention that pregnant women, they should not drink for sure.
Ever.
Never, because as I said, alcohol, because of its fat and water soluble, it can easily cross placenta as well, and it can impact the
Baby
growth of
gets
fetus.
Yeah.
And because that is a stage when your brain is being developed, every organ is being developed, and because of this acetaldehyde, it can impact any cells of the body. Because it usually causes the thinning of our brain overall. So it's a well supported evidence. When you drink alcohol, your brain lining is getting affected. Your neurons are getting affected. Your nerve cells are getting affected. And what effect or what impact it will show to you, it might be different for each individual based on several factors, gene variants and other things, but it is impacted. And for fetus, when it is growing, it is impacting. You can see that their facial features, you can tell the facial features are different, or maybe their heart vessels are impacted. So we cannot do that, and no form of alcohol should be ever ingested.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that. Protect that baby.
Yes,
right?
I know, exactly.
All right. Well, thank you. That was a lot of information. I appreciate it. And,
thank you so much.
I love having it's wealth of knowledge. So thank you for being on.
Thank you so much, Stacey. And I think, again, our listeners can make a very informed decision for themselves. Again, I'm not demonizing alcohol. People enjoy their drink, a good drink, which is okay, as long as you're aware what it's doing to your body.
Right. Bring awareness, right?
Bring awareness.
Knowledge.
Exactly.
Then they have the knowledge to make the decision out of that knowledge. So incredible listeners, thank you for tuning in today. And remember, disease is not our destiny. Every choice we make, including alcohol or not, every bite and drink we take shapes our journey to health and vitality. If you love this episode, don't forget to hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel, Simply Nutrition, and like, share, and spread the word to your family, friends, and fellow health enthusiasts. Stay curious, stay nourished, and as always, I'm Stacey Pothier, wishing you a vibrant, health-filled day. Until next time, bon appetit, and be well.